Welcome back, Night Dwellers, to another episode of Simple Dark Stories. I'm your host, Mothy, and tonight we embark on the first part of a chilling new tale, Dancing Embers. Imagine a quiet night deep in the forest, where the air is cool and the flicker of a campfire feels like your only protection. But what if the fire wasn't just a source of warmth? What if it held a darker secret? Lynette and Tallulah were looking for an escape, but what they found was far more than they bargained for. Stay close to the fire, and whatever you do, don't let the smoke consume you. Settle in for the eerie first part of Dancing Embers. The cool air bit at their skin as Tallulah and Lynette drove deep into the heart of the forest, far away from the city lights and the hum of civilization. This weekend was their escape from work, school, and the unrelenting buzz of daily life. The car rumbled to a stop, and Tallulah inhaled the sharp scent of pine and earth, exhilarated by the sense of freedom. Just the two of them, immersed in nature. The sun had already dipped below the horizon, leaving the sky awash in deep blue and violet hues, with the first stars beginning to peek through. Feels good out here, doesn't it? Lynette's voice was bright, her smile infectious. She tossed her auburn hair back, revealing the curve of her neck, still warm from earlier daylight. Yeah, Tallulah replied, her voice softer. It's peaceful. They set up camp with practiced ease, honed by years of friendship and countless trips like this one. Soon a small fire crackled in the stone ring they had assembled. Tallulah leaned back, letting the warmth of the flames seep into her skin as the flickering light cast dancing shadows on the forest floor. Lynette rummaged through her backpack and pulled out a small, unmarked bottle, shaking it with a grin. Found these in Matt's stuff, she said, a mischievous glint in her eyes. He said they're supposed to make the night more interesting. Tallulah raised an eyebrow. What are they? Lynette shrugged. Some herbal thing. He said they enhance the senses, supposed to make everything feel more alive. Are you sure that's a good idea? Tallulah asked, cautiously. Lynette had already poured 2 small chalky pills into her hand. Come on, Tal, Lynette coaxed, holding one out. It'll be fun. We could use a little adventure, right? Tallulah hesitated for only a moment before taking the pill. She and Lynette had always been like this. Lynette leading with a fearless spirit, and Tallulah following, willing to step out of her comfort zone when Lynette was by her side. They swallowed the pills, then settled back by the fire, waiting. The forest remained quiet and still, with only the occasional rustle of leaves or a distant hoot of an owl. Then, slowly, the world began to shift. The fire, which had been a simple source of warmth and light, seemed to grow more intense. The flames licked higher, the heat pulsing outward in waves that Tallulah could feel in her bones. The smell of the burning wood seemed sharper, more pungent, filling her nose with an intoxicating scent. Lynette giggled, her voice light and clear. Do you feel that? She asked, eyes wide with wonder. Tallulah nodded, though words failed her. It was as though the air had thickened, becoming tangible, almost touchable. She ran her fingers through the space between them, feeling the air like silk sliding through her fingers. Then the smoke began to change. At first it was subtle, a twist here, a curl there, but soon it became undeniable. The smoke rising from the fire no longer dissipated into the night air. Instead, It coalesced, forming tendrils that twisted together, slowly taking shape. Tallulah blinked, trying to clear her vision, but the form remained, solidifying before her eyes. It was a woman, ethereal and ghostly, her body made entirely of smoke, beautiful in a way that was almost painful. Her features were delicate and perfect, but her eyes were dark, hollow voids that seemed to swallow the light. "Lynette?" Tallulah whispered, her mouth dry, though Lynette didn't seem to hear her. She was entranced, her gaze locked on the smoke woman, her body leaning forward as though drawn by some invisible force. The smoke woman danced, her movements fluid and graceful, each twist of her body sending ripples through the air. The fire crackled beneath her, but she remained untouched, floating just above the flames. Lynette rose to her feet, her movements slow and dreamlike. Tallulah tried to stop her, but her limbs felt heavy, weighed down by the thick, oppressive air. She could only watch helplessly as Lynette stepped closer to the fire, towards the smoke woman, who now reached out a slender, smoky hand. "Lynette, don't!" Tallulah tried again, her voice swallowed by the night, the words lost in the darkness. Lynette's fingers brushed against the smoke woman's hand, and in that instant, the world shattered. The smoke woman's form exploded into 1,000 wisps of smoke, all converging on Lynette, swirling around her in a violent storm. The fire roared, flames leaping higher as the smoke entered Lynette, slipping in through her mouth, nose, and eyes. Tallulah screamed as she watched her best friend disappear beneath the suffocating cloud. The fire hissed, its warmth now a searing heat pressing against her skin, threatening to consume her. Then, as quickly as it had begun, it was over. The smoke vanished, leaving the air cold and still. The fire returned to its normal size, crackling softly in the quiet night. Lynette, however, was different. She stood by the fire, her posture stiff and unnatural. Her eyes, once full of life, were now dull, shadowed by something dark and ancient. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, as though drained of life. "Lynette?" Tallulah whispered, her voice trembling with fear. Lynette turned slowly, her movements jerky, puppet-like. When she spoke, her voice was hollow, echoing with something that wasn't her own. "Tallulah, I'm fine, just different." Tallulah's heart raced, her instincts screaming at her to run, to flee from this thing that had taken her friend's place. She couldn't move as Lynette, or the thing she had become, took a step closer. "Let's go," Lynette said, her voice unnaturally calm. "We should head back." Tallulah wanted to argue, demand answers, but something in Lynette's eyes silenced her. Numbly, she gathered her things and followed Lynette, her body moving on autopilot. As they walked back to the car, Tallulah felt the presence of the smoke woman still clinging to Lynette, a shadow that refused to let go. The night air, once crisp and clean, now smelled faintly of smoke and something else, something rotten and decayed. They drove in silence, the road winding through the dark forest. Tallulah kept glancing at Lynette, though she couldn't bring herself to speak. The person beside her was no longer her friend. She was something else, something other, and Tallulah knew with cold certainty that she could never get Lynette back. As they neared the edge of the forest, the car's headlights illuminated a figure standing in the middle of the road. Tallulah slammed on the brakes, her heart leaping into her throat. The figure didn't move as the car screeched to a halt. Tallulah's hands shook on the wheel as she stared, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. It was Lynette. That concludes today's episode. Join us again next week for another spine-tingling tale on Simple Dark Stories. If you enjoyed this and would like to help out, please give us 5 stars and tell us what haunts your dreams. Until next time.